Hello, everyone. It seems like this summer we have tea break episodes one after another, which I am loving. So I'm glad you joined me today. About a couple weeks ago, I posted on Instagram the following. Why is every body different? It's because we have different gene variations, we see through different lenses, and we have different upbringings. Therefore, one size does not fit all when eating well. This really not only applies to eating well, but living life in general. When it comes to numbers, should you count or keep track of numbers to live well? Well, to be honest, there is also no one-size-fits-all answer for this question. It really depends on the lens you are looking through. For those of you who love to track on apps how much you are consuming when it comes to macronutrients, and it makes you feel physically and emotionally good, then by all means, continue doing that practice. If that is motivating for you, do it with pleasure. Some individuals feel really successful in life when they are able to stick within healthy parameters of their intake, and which this is the key right here. When there are no feelings of guilt, when those numbers are not met, either under or over. And some of your kind likes to keep track to see if you can beat your last PR. Okay, I'm all for that too. And it's also okay to weigh yourself just once in a while for a checks and balance system. It's okay to check your body composition once in a while just to see where you're at. On this episode, I am not addressing the elite competitive athlete here. I'm talking about the rest of us non-elite athletes, but we love to work out on a regular basis. Also, if some prefer to count their carbohydrate intake because it helps them control their blood sugars due to having diabetes, then that is perfectly fine. And also, for those who like to keep track of their sodium intake because they know they are sodium sensitive and they have hypertension, and it helps them keep their blood pressure where it needs to be, then that is also fine. Now, there are some of us on the other side. Let me share my personal viewpoint. For me, I don't like to have to keep track of anything on a regular basis. I really don't find the need to keep track of calories, grams of fat, or protein I consume. Now, please don't think it's because I'm lucky and I have a high metabolism or that I don't even care. No, I do. However, I do like to have a general idea of how much protein I consume. So occasionally I like to check the nutrition labels when I'm comparing products to see which contains more protein, especially when it comes to plant-based products, because the bioavailability of protein is not as high versus animal protein. I just want to make sure I overshoot when the protein when it comes to plant-based products so that it helps me as I grow gracefully into the next decade of life, preventing sarcoma, which is muscle loss. In addition, I do work out 5 to 6 days a week, so it does warrant that I consume adequate protein. But I'm not tied to the number that is recommended for me. I just try to get as close to it as I possibly can. And if there are some days I don't, then who cares? That's fine with me. Way back in my 20s, I did keep track of how much fiber I ate every day because we're told Americans don't get enough fiber. Then I got tired of counting. I felt so free after that. But that's just me. I used to like to wear a special watch when I ran so I can keep track of my pace and to see if I can get faster and faster, which, by the way, God did not bless me with speed, but He did bless me with endurance. But now that I don't do half and full marathons anymore, I feel so free not tracking any of that stuff. I used to also track on Strava how many miles I rode, but then I thought, why? When at the end of the day, I enjoyed my movement on the bike. And who cares if I rode 5 or 50 miles? Now, on the other hand, if you are looking through a different lens, and if you did grow up in a home in which weight was always emphasized and that your self-worth was tied only to how you looked and your weight, then there is that possibility that counting calories and other macronutrients continuously can lead to a lifestyle that is dangerous to your health. This practice can imprison one in their own body because of the lens that is looked through. If this practice leads to self-isolation from family during celebrations and other important occasions, or keeping you from enjoying meeting a friend for lunch or dinner, then staying on this path of counting can lead to dissatisfaction and a decrease in quality of life. This can lead to disordered eating. But once you realize that your self-worth is found in knowing that God is your heavenly Father and that He created you wonderfully and fearfully, this knowledge can free you from the shackles of living life with so many restrictions when it comes to enjoying food, eating well, and living well. I am not saying numbers are bad. It's good to have a general idea of how much added sugar are in certain items that you might want to buy on a regular basis. But of course, if it's an item you only have occasionally, then who cares? But it is good to have an occasional checks and balance system to see if we're eating enough protein or even enough fiber. Nothing is wrong with that. The problem comes when we are obsessed with numbers, when it plays an excessive role in our lives and it controls our daily living. And when we are living that way, then the lens that is used to count daily then can lead someone to, as I mentioned earlier, disordered eating. Then for those individuals, I would love for them to free themselves from numbers. But remember, numbers are helpful too when it doesn't rule our daily lives. Let the love of God rule our lives and we can truly live a life of freedom. Thank you so much for joining me on the Nutra Narratives podcast. Please join us for another episode. Until then, remember, trust in the Lord and eat well to live well and stay well.